Welcome back, everybody. Last few people just coming in now. Hope you had a good check-in. That was good for everybody. Thanks for coming back to the room. I'm going to hand over now to Ollie, who is going to give a recap of the 100-day pitch and then an update on the 100 days plan. Over to you, Ollie.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks. And hello, everybody. I recognise several faces, so I know quite a few of you have heard the pitch before. So I'm not giving a full pitch. I'm just giving a really quick summary so that we can get on to other items, just for those of you who may not have heard anything about it before. So just a word about the context, because I suspect we all know what the context is. Well, I'm sure we all know what the context is, with the different crises around at the moment and the loss of faith in government. That's the kind of national and international context, but there's also a context within XR, which is the work that we've done on the 3.5 project and what we've been discovering on the doorstep, and not only the increased terror that people are feeling about the climate crisis, but also the increased sympathy that they're feeling for us. And that was backed up by, several of you will have seen, I'm sure, the Guardian report the other day that 66% of people now support civil disobedience on the climate action. So the whole momentum is moving our way, and that reinforces the idea behind the plan. And the plan, of course, the whole point behind the plan is to make it really straightforward and simple, easy to follow, and what we want, make it what we want. And so what we're doing is planning for 100,000 people to be surrounding Parliament on the 21st of April next year. And you can use different terms for surrounding Parliament. It might be encircling or even hugging, but the principle is to have 100,000 people in front of Parliament on the 21st of April next year. We don't need to get too hung up about the actual number. It's a number that we think we can achieve with our friends and allies. But actually, there are two key elements to this, why we've chosen the big number. It needs to be big enough so it's impossible for government to ignore us, and it needs to be big enough to protect people from arrest. And we all know what's going on with the protest laws. So those are really two key elements on it. So the 100 days, for those of you who haven't been alerted to the dates, the 100 days campaign starts on the 11th of January and finishes on the culminates on the 21st of April with the 100,000 people outside Parliament. And before the 100 days campaign starts, we've got a 10-day media blitz, and then we've got a 100-day planning period, which we're in the first part of at the moment. And one of the principles behind this is that we can't deliver the plan on our own. It's the plan. I think the feeling is that it's not just, well, I don't think, the feeling is it's not just XR's plan, it's the plan, and it's as if we are in service to the plan. And there's a role for every rebel in it. I mean, basically, we need every rebel to be focused on this as the primary strategy of XR for the next 6 months. So that's the kind of key element of the plan. So what's happened so far? What's happened so far is that we've had detailed discussions within XR, within the different circles about the different aspects of it. We set up a steering group which had its first meeting on the 25th of September, which is 100 days before the media blitz. We've set up a number of different working groups, and I'll just run through them really quickly so that you know what we're doing. The first one has the lovely name of the Sticky Pathways Group, which is all about mobilization, a really, really key area for us. Second, well, there's 6 key areas actually. Second key area is design and messaging, because we want to start designing our messaging to be focused completely on 100 days. We've got an alliances and influencing working group, volunteer recruitment group, action, design and support, and fundraising relationships. And what we have with these groups at the moment is a massive in tray and quite a small out tray at the moment, but it's all going to come tumbling out of the system in the next week or two. We're linked into operations. As I say, there are lots of areas where we're just starting work. There are some things like messaging and sticky pathways, which are real priorities, so I'm focusing on them to start with. Other areas like action design for the 21st of April and some of the other elements which take place later on down the line, which we'll be focusing on shortly, but we've barely started work on them yet. I mean, it's really interesting because lots of the questions we've had are about what's going to happen on what will the 21st of April look like? And the answer is, we're not there yet. We've got loads and loads of ideas, but we're not there yet. In fact, at the festival, I listed them. I had over 50 ideas which were given to us at the festival. So lots to go with there. So just before I finish, 3 or 4 things I might just draw to your attention. One is that the first is that we are in conversation with some large organizations, because I say this is about alliances and coalitions. This is about all our friends in the wider movement. And meetings are taking place both this week and next. And I think we're very confident that something positive will come out of this. So watch this space. We've also got an accelerated fundraising strategy in place. The fundraising strategy will have its own milestones and KPIs, key performance indicators. So that's just to prove to you we are being disciplined about this, because we've got a lot to do in a very short time. And Liz, I got to say, is an absolute hero for doing all of this. And we have a new media and messaging piece, because I told you about the media messaging team. New media and messaging piece is on its way too. And in fact, I've just had a preview of part of it, and it's very exciting. So I'm really happy that things are happening fast. I'm going to hand over now because I'm already slightly behind time. So I'll hand back to you, Liz.
Thanks, Ollie. Thanks for getting in the KPIs there. Very exciting bit of data. I love my acronyms. For anybody who hasn't worked it out, my name is Liz 100DSGISC, which is ridiculous, which means 100 days steering group internal coordinator. So apologies for that ridiculously long acronym. I was just collecting them and adding them all in together, just so you know. I'm not really that much of a fan of acronyms. So thank you very much for that great update. It's very exciting. You know, the enthusiasm from all of the working groups is there. There are challenges, but there's some determined rebels working very, very hard at the centre of the steering group. I know that there's a lot of excitement to listen and to hear updates. We want to tell you things, but we also need to tell you them in the order that they're happening. So Sticky Pathways, our champion from Sticky Pathways, Frida, in the leading team at the moment, is here with some exciting updates. So I'm going to hand over to her to talk about basic planning tools and the pack. All over to you, Frida.
Thank you very much, Liz, and thanks for that update, Ollie. It's very exciting to hear all the stuff that is going right at the moment. Good to see so many of you here. Give me some wavy hands if you're excited to find out how you guys can contribute to 100 days. Yay, yay. Thank you. Appreciate everyone who just waved. That would have been very awkward if you hadn't. So I'm going to start. There's like good and bad news here. And I'm going to start with the bad news because I think that's the order in which you're supposed to do these kinds of things. The bad news is, although there will be an amazing 100 days local group support pack at some point, it's not ready yet. So that's a bit of an anticlimax. I will tell you though what will be in it, and there will be some parts which I think we will share this with you incrementally, so you don't have to wait for the perfect pack that might be ready in 2 months, but you'll get things bit by bit. So just keep looking out on like Rebellion Broadcast and all the many beautiful communication channels we use in XR. Okay, so what's going to be in the support pack once it's ready? There's going to be the whole narrative piece that Ollie just referred to around what 100 days is, and that's going to be really key if you are planning to approach other groups and invite them to take part in 100 days. So wait for that. It's on its way. There are going to be several versions there, like how to pitch 100 days in 10 seconds, in a minute, in 2 minutes, how to another group, how to other rebels, and it's going to be beautiful. Then there will be updated 3.5 handbooks. Mobilization is obviously really, really key to all of this, and we need local groups to make that, well, make at least some of that happen. So right now we're working on updated 3.5 guidance. We've had so much really, really useful feedback from local groups on what's worked, what hasn't worked in the last couple of months. And so we're updating everything. And this updated 3.5 handbook will include updated leaflets, posters that can be used for fly posting, social media templates, so that includes for like events, but also at some point we're hoping to have sort of like social media assets, if you will, so like that are designed out and that you can just use in your local group rather than having to design your own 100 days themed stuff. The 3.5 talk will be updated, so it includes some more details on 100 days and what it involves for people. And we're working on a welcome email template. Oh, can you not hear me? Oh,
sorry,
guys.
can you just repeat what you were saying about the last point about 3.5? You went a little bit quiet there.
Oh,
Thanks.
I'm sorry. Is this better? Better? Yeah. Okay. Woo. Updated 3.5 talk, I think, is the last thing I said. So that it includes a bit more detail on what 100 days involves. And we're working on a welcome email template so that I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but like integration is key to all of this, making sure we don't just sign people up, also get them involved in a local group. And so when new people sign up to a mailing list, we want to make sure they receive an email straight away telling them how they can get involved. So a template for that is coming your way. And there's some really good alliance building guidance, which I'm going to show you later because that's pretty much ready already. So this is like all work in progress. Sorry, it's not, we were hoping it would be done for today. It's not done for today, but now we're getting to the good news, which is the beautiful document that we have ready for today, just to give you some really rough guidance on what you can already get started with. And I'll share my screen and show you, but just to give you some warning and some reassurance that I'm not designing the leaflets for 100 days. So there's no, when you see this document, there's no reason to get worried, because that will hopefully be the only time you'll see me trying to do anything that resembles graphic design. So this is a really short 2-pager just to get local groups started with the kinds of things you might want to be thinking of in preparation for 100 days. So right now, on the beautiful 100 days timeline, we're here in the planning phase. And this is a really important phase. This is like our time when we can take a bit of a breather and make sure we've got all our ducks in a row and we're ready for a big mobilization push next year. So would really recommend you guys look into doing that in November and December. And then from January to April is when we're really going to like launch this campaign publicly. We hope at some point there will be some momentum behind it and there will be other organizations joining in. And so this is where you would really be pushing your 3.5 campaigns or whatever other types of mobilization you're doing. And then the action will be happening here. And then after that, hopefully we can chill for a little bit, but who knows what's going to happen afterwards. Okay, so 3 steps I would recommend you guys take during this planning phase. 1, it's like super boring, but so important. I can't stress it enough, is to get really like basics into place in your local group, so it's functioning for next year. So I'm really quickly walk you through what I think that could involve. I think having at least 1 local group coordinator, so you're connected up with the rest of XR and that communication flow works, really key. Having a local group integrator, for anyone here who's been part of 3.5, you know how key it is that we don't just sign new people up, we make it as easy as possible for them to join. And I think the conclusion we've reached is it's not easy enough for someone to join normally unless there's someone who does a bit of hand holding. And so it really needs to become a basic for, It has to become a basic for all our local groups that we have integrators. And there will be a bit more guidance at a later point of like around what that could involve and what integration best practice is. Then make sure someone's monitoring all your inboxes. It's a major block for new people joining you if they send you an email or they message you on social media and they never hear back from you. Have one group chat, or if you're like a really, really big group, maybe a broadcast where you can add any new people, and you have like basic group chat rules. We know how quickly everything can go completely haywire if a group chat goes the wrong way. So now is the time to put some rules into place, so that's not going to happen while you're trying to really kick your mobilization off. Action Network, I hope you've all heard of it. It's the database that we use. Now is a good time to make sure that you're set up on that and you know how to email those people on your Action Network mailing list, and you know how to mobilize your mailing list. And there's a link to how to request training there. We have almost done, I'm sorry. Excel UK map, there's a map of all the local groups. Make sure you're on the map and make sure, I can actually show it to you. There are loads of local groups on there, and a lot of them have like 5 to 10 different social media handles. And this is an example, I'd be surprised if all local groups are actually updating all of these social media pages. So now is a good time to let us know if you're actually not using any of those social media pages anymore. Put a group agreement in place. Make sure no one runs off with passwords. Make sure you have an idea of what to do with money if we send you money. These are, all these kinds of things sound boring, but are super essential. And if it goes wrong, it won't be that boring anymore, unfortunately. I hope you've all heard of gardeners. Gardeners are the people in each region and nation who support local groups. They can help you with every step in here. If you don't know who your gardener is, email this email address and I'll let you know who they are. But use that resource. They're really happy to help you. Okay, that's the boring stuff. Now the slightly more exciting stuff. 3.5, you've all heard of it. There will be an updated 3.5 handbook, but you can already start to think about how you're going to do your 3.5 next year. So are you going to have maybe one trusted messenger talk, or are you going to maybe like drop talks and really focus on getting signups for 100 days? Are you really going to focus on your integration? These kinds of things. And again, there will be a lot more guidance on that soon. Then the new addition to 3.5, which is very exciting, is alliance building. I think, because we're all aware that if we want 100 days to take off, we need many organizations to sign up to it. So a couple of things you can do to make that, to help make that happen. One thing is to contact the relationships team and let them know if your granddad is on the board of Greenpeace or something like that. If you've got any like really hot contacts within organizations, big organizations that you think might help us build those partnerships and alliances, get in touch with the relationships team and let them know. The other thing that you can already do is just to start thinking your local groups about how you might want to do alliance building. So there's some really good guidance developed by the relationships team around how we can do alliance building in local groups. There are a lot of steps you want to take before you actually go out emailing 50 groups in your local area going like, hi, join us for 100 days. And so now is a good time, while we're still waiting for the final narrative framing, now is a good time to think about how you want to do this. And just to give you an example of what XR Norwich has already done quite beautifully, it's a really good idea to just map out what organizations are out there, and who's more aligned, who's less aligned. And that just really helps you gain some clarity around how you want to do this alliance building piece. And then finally, you may want to set yourselves a goal that you can work towards, because 100,000 people is a lot of people, and we need every local group to do their best to get people to London in April. That's me. Sorry for rambling on for so long. Thanks for your attention. And I'll put this document into the chat now. Don't forget to open it or save the chat, because otherwise you lose it when you leave Zoom.
Thank you, Frida. Thanks everybody for paying attention and sticking with that. The document will be shared, will be readily available. If you need it and you didn't find it, speak to your local group and your local gardener. we'll make sure that everybody gets that document. So next, I'm going to talk very briefly about communication, and then we will be able to go into question time. So there is an invitation, which I'm hoping Ned might be able to copy and paste into the chat, because I'm on a different account on a different computer and I can't do it myself. So please help, Ned. Coming to you shortly for a Mattermost channel. So for those of you who are already on Mattermost, there is a 100 days channel dedicated, which you can click this link and get straight into. If you are not already on Mattermost, that link will take you to a sign up page. So you will be able to sign up and join Mattermost. There have been many hours spent discussing the ways to communicate. There is no perfect solution. There are umpteen channels. The best option that's come out of those many laboured and careful discussions is to use Mattermost to the best of our abilities. I appreciate that will not be music to everybody's ears, but will be a symphony to some. So please consider, maybe now is the time, if you've been putting it off, getting into Mattermost. And in that channel, there are sub-channels. There is an Ask Anything channel. There is a announcements channel. There is a recruitment channel. There's all sorts of exciting and interesting things going on in there. And that is how we intend to be able to give the majority of our updates quickly and efficiently, because as you can tell, this is taking a slightly different shape to previous Extinction Rebellion actions, and the planning phase it's got much more inclusion with local groups. We really want to encourage that dialogue, that two-way, and so this is an invitation to that Mattermost channel for that reason. There are also frequent Mattermost trainings available if you would like. You can subscribe to the Talks and Training channel. I think, Ned, would you mind just giving a bit of a talk about that just quickly?
Sure. If you're in the movement broadcast on Telegram, then the Mattermost training is published every week. It's quick questions on a Monday, that's 5:30 till 6, and then a bit of a longer training on a Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. However, I'm very happy to run a training specifically for your local group or your working group if you want to do it together. I can pop my email and my telephone number into the chat and you can get in contact with me that way.
Thank you, Ned. And so we find ourselves at the end of our agenda with plenty of time for questions. Please, if you could, there are a lot of people here. Please do raise your hand using the function on Zoom if you can, and it will save your arm from aching while we get round to you. So please do feel free to raise your hand and we will get to you in the order that you appear. Starting with Elizabeth from Cambridge. Hello.
Hello, thank you. Yes, so the question I popped into the chat right at the start was, having seen some of the people who came to our talk this week who don't have much mobility, whether there's been any thought given to holding events on the same date in our local cities, which would enable perhaps more people to participate and might create a bit more of a stir if we've got it going across the country.
Thank you. A really important question. I know that there has been discussions about this and they have not reached conclusions. So yes, is a short answer, and thank you for raising that question. Next hand up is Denise from Newport.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions if you don't mind. Just to clarify, it sounded like it's being recommended that the 3.5 happens from January onwards and not before. It's just planning before. Did I understand that right? Or can the door knocking commence before then?
Shall I come back on that? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You can door knock as much as you like, Denise. No one will stop you from door knocking. I think it's just that some local groups have expressed that they started to feel a bit tired, and that they've been doing a lot of 3.5 and they needed a bit of a break. And so to those local groups, I would suggest take a break. If you guys want to go non-stop from now until April, no one will stop Newport and we'll all be, you know, looking up at you, but take the time to think about integration before you do your door knocking, I guess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise. Next question from Barnaby Flynn. Hello. Can you hear?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was muted and blacked out. So on the Mattermost, where is the best spot to add a new idea if you think you're sitting on something cunning?
Oh, love that. I would say probably in the main chat. There is a main chat. That's where probably most of the chat is happening. Or if it's a question, ask anything.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Looking forward to hearing your cunning idea. Thank you. Next question is Andy Leon in Melbourne, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really exciting 100 Days project. Really looking forward to it. I was just a bit concerned about the April 21st date, being with the London Marathon being on the 23rd, which is kind of like probably the biggest event in London of the year. And you know, most of the roads are kind of fenced off on the Saturday in preparation. And we'd be very unpopular if we tried to do any protest on the Saturday and Sunday. So just wondering, you know, is the intention just to bring people for the Friday, or do we want to extend it beyond that?
So it was really frustrating of London Marathon to announce their date a couple of weeks after we chose our date. I don't think it's intentional, but it felt like it. There is a separate working group discussing that. There may be a need to change the date. That is being talked about. That is on the table. At this point, there'll be a decision or weighing up. Is it better to change the date? If so, what's that going to be? But obviously, having announced a date, it would be ideal if we could stick to it. But we know XR move like water. If we need to, we'll have to change it. Direct point, is that answer for you all right, Andy? Thank you. Direct in from Frida.
Yeah, maybe if I could just add that this is, I mean, we really hope that we'll resolve this very, very soon, the whole date issue. But just to say, that's why we wouldn't recommend that you get in touch with other organizations just yet, because that would be a bit of a bummer if you did that now and then in 1 week we tell you the date's changed. So you'll be able to do that very, very soon, but maybe wait for like another week or two.
Thank you. Well, next question from Amy Davis.
Hi, yeah. So I guess related to that, how long will the 21st of April action kind of go on for? I was doing a bit of outreach when we were at the festival a few weeks ago in October, and when I was talking to people, lots of people were very keen to sort of show up on the day. And I was saying, you know, get involved with your local group, etc. But do people need to commit to sort of being XR signed up rebels to come along on the 21st and join a mass protest? And B, do they, there's some sort of context of we're going to go there and we're going to stay there for as long as it takes. So that, does that imply it's sort of almost certain to be an arrestable action if people come along on that day?
Great questions. Thank you, Amy. I think at this point it's important to say there's nothing certain, because part of the plan, which is uncomfortable, right? It's a bit uncomfortable. Much rather have a certain plan. But part of the design feature of 100 Days is this collaboration with other organisations. And so there's an intentionality to co-design and leave space for them. So we can't do our usual setting in stone at this point. That was the second part of your question. I'm sorry, could you remind me the first part?
It was just sort of how committed do people have to be?
Oh yeah, great. That was a really good question. If we don't, absolutely, there's part of the narrative that's coming out that we're saying or the kind of suggestion, if you like, is people don't need to be a rebel to join this. So it's a much lower bar, a lower barrier, lower bar for entry, intentionally, that we're asking people to click a ticker, and those tickers might be available on multiple groups' websites. So if the relationships work and we get lots of other people, lots of other groups on board, there'll be multiple tickers. So RSPB might have their ticker, Black Lives Matter, and other groups may all have those tickers. And it's not essential for people to become rebels. This is an action for all humans.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, Amy. Next question, we've got Dave from Wire Forest, and then Kathy Slaughter. Hi, Dave.
Hi, thank you. Didn't realise I was next. I welcome the fact that we're talking about this as a movement of movements event, which to me means collaborating with other groups. But if we're genuinely collaborating, part of that would be that we actually agree the date with those other organisations and movements. I think you said that you're hoping to provide some information next week in terms of who we might be collaborating with. So can you please put my mind at ease that in fact it's not that we've set the date and we're inviting others, because actually that would be an XR event, wouldn't it, rather than a movement of movements event. So which is it?
It's a really good question. It's very difficult to answer. Lots of thinking went into picking a date versus leaving it blank. And the decision came out to put a date, put a flag in the future and say this is something that we could work towards. But as we alluded to before, we know we need flexibility, and we know we need to collaborate with other organisations, and we know there's a potential to change the date anyway. So those conversations, what is hopefully obvious to everybody in the call is that we need to have these difficult conversations about these things aren't set in stone, yet align everybody in a direction. So those two things conflict quite difficultly at times. So hopefully you can be reassured that the intention is to have those conversations with groups, and if the date needs to change to accommodate those, that's not off the table. Extinction Rebellion have chosen a date which we may be able to galvanise around, and the intention is to get as many people around Parliament on that date. There's a lot to be decided between now and then, and I know that's slightly uncomfortable, but hopefully that goes some way. I lost your pick. The screen has jumped around, so I know we've got next questions from Kathy Slaughter, Sue Williamson and David Venner in North Devon. I think Amy's hand up was from before, and then Swallows from Oxford. So moving on to Kathy, are you ready? And you're still muted, Kathy, for the moment.
Yeah, okay, I'm on my phone, and I don't think I can save the chat. So Frida's document, I would like to say, but I don't really, can I save the chat? And if not, is it anywhere else?
Technical, direct from Ned.
So what we can do, Kathy, after this session is we can email you the document link, the recording from this session, the live transcript, and any other further information that might be useful.
Yeah, great. And you've got my email?
Yes, because you registered for the session.
Of course.
That
All
gives
right,
us your
you,
email.
Ned. That's brilliant. Thanks, you.
Ned. Thanks, Kathy. Direct from Frida as well.
Yeah, I've got a feeling we may want to share this more widely anyway. So maybe keep looking out on like the Rebellion broadcast and those kinds of channels as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue Williamson and David in Devon, North Devon. Hello, neighbours. Oh, he's still muted at the moment, Sue.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about if we're sharing this action, hopefully with a lot of other organisations, will they all sign up to being non-violent as well?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's built into our DNA. Absolutely nothing is more Extinction Rebellion than ensuring non-violence, and that's not about to change. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Great question. Anne to Swallows from Oxford XR. Hello.
Yes, hi. I sent this question in advance, but I'm going to say it now. At our meeting last week, we were thinking about the 100 days, and we were very, we wondered about April the 21st. Yes, I've heard today about the plans are very loose at the moment, and it's, you know, it's not have been designed yet because it's evolving everybody. But it would seem that the date has been fixed, and we wondered why a Friday had been chosen when there are very few MPs around, as they're all in their constituencies. So why a Friday? But if we did it on say a Wednesday when Parliament's busy, we could do things like a mass lobby, for example, and affinity groups target their own MPs. So we wondered whether also why not Saturday, because Saturday is much better in terms of people coming to London. So it would be likely to be a bigger a group of, you know, crowd of people who come. So yeah, those were the questions that we had, but I don't know whether anyone's going to be able to answer those.
Thank you. Ollie, coming in.
Yeah, can I just say that we've had lots of questions around this. Some of the questions are we can answer and some we can't, but in fact all of them will be going to the planning team within the next couple of weeks in order to frame this action on the 21st and subsequent days. So I just urge you to hold your horses for the moment. The considerations are going on, the conversations are going on as we speak. And most of these messages are coming in from different parts of the movement already. So we've got the messages and the answers will be coming. We just don't want to preempt the conversation that's going to take place with the planning team.
No, I absolutely understand that. But yeah, good. I'm glad that our questions will go then to the planning team. Thank you.
Thank you. And I've definitely heard them being discussed at length by the political group. So yeah, some good conversations happening there already. Thank you. Denise Newport, is your hand still up from before?
Yes, the second question.
Yeah,
so I understand there's negotiations going on at a national level with some of the big organisations. And I am pulling together a list for local groups where I am as well. I hear what you said about it'll be a couple of weeks. Is there a kind of cut-off date for when you're going to finish those national negotiations, so we'll know where we stand with those groups that have got local groups and, you know, messaging across the board, I guess?
Yeah, so thank you. That's a great question. Oh, sorry, Ollie, do you want to come back in on that?
Well, I just think it's important to say that at the moment, there's no deadline on the negotiations. We obviously want to start them as soon as possible, but we can't tell when they'll end. So I guess the answer is it'll be as soon as we can bring them to a close, because we want to be able to publicise our alliances.
So does that mean that as a local group, we should just go ahead and contact, I mean, if it's RSPB, obviously, you know, I would be contacting local RSPB people, and so that's all fine. Just go ahead and do it locally anyway.
The thing to direct from Frida on that one.
Yeah, so I think the thing that we should be waiting for on a local level is the date. I think we don't have to wait for us to have a final set of these are the organizations who are going to be doing this together, because I think there will not be a cut off there, to be honest. I think that might be very, you know, organizations might join at very different stages. So I think all we should wait for is the date. And I think that, I mean, it's your judgment call, to be honest. Like if you're burning to contact the local RSPB, you can do it, but you do it at the risk that that date might change something like next week. I'm going to put myself out there and say I would really have hoped that we have this whole marathon and when our MPs sitting discussion, and are we going to change the day? I think we should have that finished within 2 weeks. So I don't think we'll wait until end of December and then tell you that the date has changed.
Great, thanks Frida, thanks Denise. We've got one more hand up and then I think we're getting close to wrapping up time for everybody. So Rosie from North Devon for the last question. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Did you say earlier on that you're creating a template for us to send out to friendly local groups who we want to approach, or is it up to us to make our own messages to them?
Over to Frida.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So there's going to be a document that outlines some of the messaging and key information around this event. I think you know your local organizations best, and you'll always have to adapt whatever you write to that organization to make sure it's adapted. So that it's just going to be a key point guide. It's not going to be a phrased out email.
Yeah, but the key points might be quite a useful guide. I mean,
Definitely.
I think most of us probably already know what's there, but it still might be quite helpful. Thanks very much.
No, I think that's the other thing that's going to be out very soon. Like it's literally, I think tomorrow it's going to be presented. So I think the date should be out within the next 2 weeks. And I think this document should also be shared within the next two weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rosie. Yeah, as Ollie said earlier, there is a stack of stuff awaiting sending out. So the inbox is like this, the in tray, and it will all soon be coming out as soon as it possibly can. So please bear with, thank you for your patience. We are going to have to wrap up questions, but I have got two hands left up and then we will have to close it, I'm afraid. So just got time for Barnaby and Dave Wire again. You have had questions already, so if you can keep it short, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'm going to have to share my cunning plan. So the idea was that to not fix a date and to have daily strikes, 1 minute strikes, where when we realised that, like the Clap for Carers, we've got 3.5% of the population standing for 1 minute daily strike against strike daily, overthrow oligarchy. When we've got 3.5% of the population, we have a strike then, because if you set a date and you don't get enough people, the whole thing dissipates.
Wonderful, thank you. Yep, that's gone into the mix, gone into the pot. Thank you, Barnaby. Dave, with you for the last question.
Thank you. It is about the date again, I'm afraid. It strikes me that a lot of material has already gone out there talking about April the 21st, and if there's a possibility of it changing, then the sooner we change it, the better. And if we do like the idea of countdowns, so 100 days from this to this, then perhaps we could have a countdown saying we will announce the date on. We will definitely be in London in April, and the date will be announced in 30 days from now, or whatever it might be. If we could get that messaging out soon, then I think it will save quite a lot of embarrassment, frankly, because there's a lot of material out there already.
100% agree. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Thank you, everybody, so much for your time and your questions, your attention and your excitement. It's really wonderful to have a group of rebels fired up and ready. We'd love to be giving you more resources, and hopefully this holding message of explaining where we are and communicating with you and making sure you know this is a two-way phase, this is collaboration and we're planning together, will help consolidate the movement and bring us all in alignment for something really, really fantastic. I think it's our best shot. There's an amazing group of people, so fingers crossed we will make it happen. So thank you so much. If you'd like to unmute yourselves and say tatty bye, please do feel free to do so. Thanks, everyone.
Tatty, tatty bye.
Everybody,
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Stop. Kept turning around.